Oh hi, I didn't see you there. My name is Bliss Foster and today we're going to be asking the question, are designer clothes worth the price you pay for them? And as our test subject, we will be using some pieces from Dries Van Noten. Over the last 20 years, fast fashion companies have kind of become the universal answer for everyone's question of, oh, I should get a new shirt. What kind of shirt should I get? When it comes to the question of whether or not designer clothes are worth paying the extra money for, I think a lot of people land in the no category because they don't really understand what designer clothes look and feel like. The general idea about designer clothes that I picked up on as a kid seemed to be saying that like designer clothes are not actually worth paying extra for, you're just paying so that other people think you're rich. And I actually do kind of understand how they reached that conclusion, because to most people that I was growing up with, designer brands were things like J. Crew and Banana Republic. Which, I mean, if we're being real, those are fast fashion companies that just cost more. If truly the whole decision is, should you shop at Banana Republic or should you shop at the Gap? You should just shop at the Gap because it's the same clothes. But again, growing up in suburban Georgia, we didn't have like a Barney's or a Neiman Marcus to go look at real designer clothes at. Enough story time. Now we're going to actually talk about why designer clothes are in fact quite different, and they are indeed worth paying a little bit of extra money for. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Dries Van Noten. It's Dries Van Noten. Whew! It is July. Stuff like this, I actually like to leave it unbuttoned a little bit so that when you sit down, you don't look ridiculous. Blammo! All the convincing you need. Designer clothes, worth it every time. Send tweet. No, there is actually a little bit more to it than that. Obviously, this design looks really cool. Most of my channel is honestly devoted to the idea of finding out the concept behind the creation of clothes. There actually is a very cool concept behind these clothes, but I don't want to get into that necessarily today. Because like, for me, it's very important to have an idea and a story and a very solid concept behind the things that I'm consuming. But I know that for a lot of people, they don't give a shit. There's even a lot of people who only buy designer clothes that don't care at all about what the themes that season were or the inspiration or any of that stuff. Instead, we're gonna hone in a little bit more on what makes this article of clothing worth buying over some random black shirt with some patches on it that's from Old Navy. Reason number one, I don't know if we're gonna be counting reasons the whole time, but the weight of the material and the quality of the materials really do make a big difference when it comes to designer clothes. This is a really difficult concept to defend because I'm not a textiles expert, so no, I can't tell you the specific things that make this cotton different than this cotton, or this specific kind of twill weave different than this specific kind of twill weave. But what I do know is that you are far more likely to come across very purposeful design with those little details at a designer label than you are at H&M. Now that does not mean that it cannot be the other way around. I have found lots of designer clothes that are suspiciously shitty. Like, I have held garments before in a store and been like, Italians made this? Y'all found the wrong Italians. Honestly, this is why the get the look for cheap posts on Reddit just don't ever seem to work out the way you want them to. The reason Ryan Gosling looks so good in everything that he wears is because Ryan Gosling is a very handsome man who works out all the time and sees a dermatologist every month. But the reason that celebrities who aren't in peak physical condition still look really good in all the things that they wear is because they are designer clothes. And the reason these buy the look for less posts don't ever seem to work out the way people want them to is because you're trying to imitate a Stone Island jacket using whatever you can find at Zara. Part of the reason that this thing fits so well is because Dries was able to check in on it while it was being made. If your design team is one place and they're sending those designs to some far-flung corner of the world where they're then outsourcing those designs to local families, it's kind of a you get what you get kind of situation. But yeah, the heft of a garment makes a huge difference for what it feels like when it's on your body and what it looks like to others when it's on your body. When fabric has a little bit of weight to it, you get a whole lot more of the effect that you're going for than if you cut the same pattern using the lightest possible material so that you can save on resources. Let's be real, if this was at a Banana Republic, they would be trying to sell this as a jacket, not as a shirt. Let's think, is there anything else about this piece that makes it different than fast fashion clothes? Oh right, did anyone happen to notice the kind of unusual thing that's back here? Oh my Lanta, what could that be for? This is what it's for. It's so that I can put this bear pelt on. And before you ask, this bear pelt is not merely draped around my person. It is attached. Look at all of these normal activities of everyday life. It is extremely attached. It's not going anywhere unless I tell it to. $200 to the Zara shopper that can find a bear pelt. It is July. Whew. I am dying right now. I can't tell if it would be better or worse if this was an actual bear pelt. All right, cool. So you guys want to see how this thing actually gets attached? This is ultimately my big reason why designer clothes are 600% worth the extra money that you're paying for them, is because they actually get to experiment around and make really unusual stuff that you would never find anywhere else. Anyway, so if we take this off and we return to the back of the shirt, we see that we have this kind of weird backwards apron thing that's just attached to the back of the shirt. Almost kind of like a waiter apron. Pretty simple attachment there. But if we disconnect this extra ribbony thing here, pull that all the way through, it frees it up. And if we push that aside for the moment and we bring down a bear pelt, we can admire the gorgeous soft texture of the pelt. This is not a real bear pelt. Again, this is not a real bear pelt, that's a joke. But if we flip it over, we find a few technical things. Find the wonderful little Dries tag there and some washing instructions. But we also find a pocket wherein we may find this extra little attachment piece. On one end, it has a buttonhole, on the other, it has a button. And then on each side of the scarf, we find more attachment pieces. We find a similar one to the shirt here, and we find little buttonhole here. Pretty easy solution on the buttonhole side. I just attached the extra piece to it like so. Then on the other side, I took the male piece from the shirt and attached it to the buckle pretty tightly. Pulled the excess hair out. Then I just have this whole big deal right here. I put the shirt on, which takes a second when there's a bear attached to it. I buttoned it up. I then wrapped the pelt around my right shoulder. Then to lock it in place, I took the extra male piece on the other side of the pelt and I wrapped it around and attached it to the female piece that is on the shirt itself. And then I just buttoned the extra fabric to the shirt so it creates this cool loop detail here. And yeah, I love this entire thing. The whole silhouette is so cool. Not only do I have like the wrap around in the front, but I have this cool silhouette from the side and from the back and everywhere. The whole thing is just incredible. But yeah, I fucking love this thing so much. It's incredible. So yeah, are designer clothes worth it? For me, clothes are a huge part of how I express myself, and I can't help but wear things like this. People buy designer clothes for different reasons. I am here 100% for unique pattern cutting and really crazy new ideas. Stuff like this is one of my favorite things in the whole world. Thank you so much for joining me. This was so much fun. I would like to send a special thank you out to my friend Lol Cool Jake, who lent me these incredible Johns and who looks way better in them than I do. My boy has some outstanding fits. He's very slept on. Go follow him on Instagram. And also, he's a bro and a half for lending me this stuff. Go follow him whether or not you like those fits. You like the fits, don't lie. And while you have the app open, follow me on Instagram also. I'm at Bliss Foster, absolutely everywhere. You guys are the best. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.